It's stale, is solid like a rock. It decomposes and it absorbs moisture. I'm going to bury it underground. Well, that was a bit dramatic. However, bread is actually very beneficial to your soil and to your garden. You just have to make sure that there's not too much salt content in your bread. And you can actually bury the bread in your raised bed, or you can compost the bread as well. You can add it to your compost pile. And it decomposes very, very quickly. Bread absorbs a lot of moisture, a lot of water, and it decomposes like crazy, it disintegrates. So I'm going to bury it in my raised bed, and I'm going to check up on it after a week. So I'm hoping that this bread is going to decompose in a week, and it's going to attract a lot of earthworms. Earthworms love bread. And another thing that they really love is cardboard. I don't know why. So I'm going to bury this bread in my raised bed, so let's get right on it.
I excavated some soil to make a trench in my raised bed. I made the trench wide and deep enough to bury the bread completely. I then placed the bread in the trench and then covered with soil. After covering up, I watered the area to keep it moist for bread to decompose and create perfect conditions and moisture for earthworms.
So I buried the bread and I watered it. You gotta water the bread. The bread is not going to grow, but the water is going to actually help the bread decompose rather quickly. So I'm going to dig it up after a week and show you guys what happens. So it's been about 5 days since I buried the stale bread in this area. Now bread decomposes rather quickly, so I'm going to dig it up and see what's going on in here. As you can see, some of the pieces of bread have come apart. Bread hasn't really decomposed properly, but it's on its way, and lots of pieces of bread has broken off. As I dig through it, they're very moist, they're broken off. I kept this area pretty wet and pretty moist so that the water aids in the decomposition of the bread. So let me dig some more. As you can see, there are lots of earthworms attracted to this bread. As the bread decomposes, they're feeding on the mold and fungi that's growing on the bread. And in turn, they're turning the bread into worm casting, which is black gold, and your plants love this stuff. There are quite a few of earthworms. Here's one. Let me bring it closer. As you can see, they are right on top of this bread. They are loving it. It's one of their favorite foods, so they're having a party in here. Let me dig a little bit deeper. And the earthworm have penetrated way down into the ground where the bread was buried. So they're really working on it. They're really working hard to make me that black compost, that black gold.
If you have a dog or raccoon problem in your neighborhood, you can actually put a wire mesh like this one on top of your soil and then weigh it down with concrete blocks and bricks. This way raccoons and dogs won't be able to dig the area. After 2 weeks, the bread is nowhere to be found, but I could still see earthworms in the same area. I dug deeper to see if I could find the bread, but I could not find any traces of the bread. The bread has all turned into worm castings. Worm castings contain live enzymes and nutrients. Worm castings also encourage microbial activity in the soil. Earthworms aerate the soil and make the soil loose for roots to develop deeper. If you do not already have earthworms in your garden, you can order some online or get some from a friend. The earthworms you should get are red wiggler worms. These worms do very well in confined spaces and are easier to keep in your garden. Earthworms can eat up to half their body weight in a day, which all turns into organic fertilizer.
You might be thinking, what's the purpose of this video? You bury some bread and the worms decompose it. What's the big deal? Well, I want to highlight the importance of worms in the garden and also reducing kitchen waste.
Kitchen scraps and other organic material may take months to decompose, but bread decomposes very quickly. I made a video earlier about burying kitchen scraps in your garden and also to make free organic fertilizer in your raised beds. In these videos, I mentioned that you have to wait at least 3 months for material to decompose before planting anything. I usually do this in winters, and by spring, my beds are ready for planting.
However, bread decomposes so quickly that you only have to wait 2 weeks before planting. And you can even bury stale bread in between your plants to make worm castings right in place for your plants.
In just 2 weeks, the worms made a bunch of organic fertilizer right in place for my plants. It is all about minimal effort, reducing waste, and natural gardening.
I really hope you found this video informative, and I hope you reduce your kitchen waste going out to the landfills, and I'll see you in another video.